Hello everyone, welcome back to Potty Planet Entertainment. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I do these videos from time to time. I do something a little bit different, not necessarily a review or a vlog, just something to talk about movies. Today I am going to be talking about the landmarks in action movies. These are the movies that, in my opinion, are the movies that have defined the action genre, changed the action genre, and will always be loved till the end of time. These movies are incredibly important to me and to so many other people. These are the movies that have shaped what action movies are. These are the movies that define what action movies are, at least in my opinion. So the first movie is Star Wars. Yeah, just Star Wars. This was originally just called Star Wars, and they changed the Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope. But Star Wars, the very first Star Wars movie was released in 1977, and it changed the world. Pop culture would never be the same again after this movie came out. This movie revolutionized special effects, and it defined the sci-fi genre. This was actually just a Star Trek spinoff, and it is arguably the greatest movie of all time. This movie is good beyond words. I mean, this movie is so good. The special effects are groundbreaking. There's, this was what introduced us to lightsaber fights. There was amazing spaceship battles. There was blaster fights. Just everything about this movie is just groundbreaking and breathtaking in every way. And this movie will forever live on in infamy. Next up is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark was released in 1981, and this movie is truly a landmark in action. This was supposed to be nothing more than just a fun B movie. It was inspired by James Bond, but it's one of the greatest action movies ever made. This movie has groundbreaking action. It really showed us how great a fist fight in a movie really can be. The car chases, the horseback riding, the gunfights, everything about this movie was just groundbreaking. Even the special effects were really groundbreaking. This movie still holds up, and it's never not going to hold up. And of course, it introduces us to the greatest action movie hero of all time in Indiana Jones. Number 3 is The Terminator. Released in 1984, even though the special effects in this movie really don't hold up very well, this movie will be beloved till the end of time. This movie is so good. I have a few little issues with this movie that I unfortunately can't overlook, which is why I didn't give it a 100 in my review. But gosh, I love it enough to give it a 100 because this movie is so great. This movie showed us that you can really combine action and horror and make a great movie. And that's why this movie makes my list. Did I say that was 4? Because I'm about to say 3. Oh well. Okay, so number 4 is Lethal Weapon. This movie was released in 1987, and this movie helped shape what action movies are today. The action in this movie is so amazing, and it still holds up so well. It's the practical effects in this movie. You know, you can't beat the good old-fashioned blood packets, you know. That's always going to look good, you know. And the fight scenes and the gunfights and the chase scenes in this movie really helped shape what action movies were to become. This movie helped shape the future of action movies. The chemistry between the two leads is some of the greatest chemistry ever seen between two actors ever. This is my all-time favorite movie. Yes, this really did help revolutionize action movies. Number 5 is Predator. This was also released in 1987, and this is definitely one of the greatest action movies of all time. This movie should have failed. This should have been cheesy and stupid, but it's one of the greatest action movies of all time. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the buff, ripped guy he is, taking on this alien. It's the gunfights, the tension, the suspense. It's one of the greatest action movies of all time, and this is definitely one of the big landmarks in action films. Number 6 is Die Hard, arguably the most important movie on this list. It was released in 1989, and this movie really helped shape the future of action movies. After Die Hard came out, action movies would never be the same. The action in this movie is so good. You just have to see it to believe it. It's incredible, it's bloody, it's violent, and it's satisfying. It's so good. It's so well choreographed. The cinematography shows all these wide, clear, beautiful angles. This right here is the perfect action movie. Words do not express how good Die Hard is. This movie really shaped the future of action. It's like, if you were to ask me what is the one movie that defines the action genre, there you go, right there. Die Hard. Die Hard. It's Die Hard for sure. Number 7 is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Yes, another Terminator movie. This is one of the few cases where the sequel is actually better than the original. This movie is great beyond words. It's a flawless masterpiece. It's often considered to be the greatest action movie ever made. With groundbreaking digital effects, this movie is so good. Everything about this movie is just perfect. It's just perfect. The action sequences in this movie are amazing. They still hold up so well. This is definitely one of the greatest action movies, if not the greatest action movie of all time. I seriously cannot praise this movie enough. Oh, yeah, it was released in 1991. I think I forgot to say that. Number 8 is The Matrix. Released in 1999, The Matrix is definitely one of the best movies ever made. This movie, okay, so when this movie came out, during the early 2000s, there was people, see, this movie was so popular when it came out that Hollywood thought that this is what we wanted because it shows these slow motion shots during the action scenes. And Hollywood looked at the success of this movie and said, well, if this is what people want, then this is what we're going to give them. And so this is what they gave us. The problem was that no other movie, including the sequels, even though the sequels are definitely the closest to it, did the action as well as this movie. Because you look at all these action movies that came out in the early 2000s, and they're all such obvious ripoffs of The Matrix. That's why Chris Stuckman calls it the post-Matrix era of action movies, because everybody was trying to replicate the success of the action in this movie. The action in this movie was groundbreaking. Everybody loved it. But the problem was that it doesn't work for every movie, but it definitely works for this movie. But Hollywood didn't know that. Now, obviously, they moved on and they've learned their lesson. They know that we all hate that. And then they moved into the shaky cam era, which was even worse. God. But, yes, The Matrix is a masterpiece of cinema. The action in this movie is incredible. They've got these amazing slow motion shots, but they're not cheesy. They're so well done. The special effects are so good. This movie is incredible and is definitely one of the big landmarks in action films. Number 9 is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Now, one of the great things about the Lord of the Rings trilogy is that regardless of which one of the 3 is your favorite, nobody would think it's weird that one's your favorite. If you say the first one's your favorite, nobody thinks that's weird. You say the second one's your favorite, nobody thinks that's weird. You say the third one is your favorite, nobody thinks that's weird. Everybody would completely understand why which of these 3 movies is your favorite one. Now, I think the majority of people, the slight majority of people like the third one best, but I'm talking about the first one because this one really shaped how great adventure movies could be. The adventure, the war sequences, everything. This is just a beautiful, beautiful movie with beautiful action, beautiful story, beautiful scenery. This is one of the greatest action adventure movies of all time, without a doubt. It was released in 2001. I think I forgot to say that again. Yeah, 2001. Okay, so I'm going to say this before I forget. The Dark Knight, released in 2008. The Dark Knight is by far one of the best movies ever made. It has a 9.0 out of 10 on IMDb, which is tied with The Godfather Part 2. And the only two movies above it are The Godfather and The Shawshank Redemption. That's how much people love this movie. The action in this movie is incredible. The story is incredible. It's smart. It's so smart. It's such a smart movie. Heath Ledger is one of the greatest performances of all time. Not just in film, but in acting in general. It's one of the greatest performances of all time. The action in this movie is not only great, but like I said, it's smart. This is a very smart movie. It's not an overly convoluted movie. It's a little bit convoluted, but it's very, very smart, and it's just mind-blowing. Every scene in this movie is like, it's one of the best movies ever made. Number 11 is Inception, another Christopher Nolan movie. This movie was released in 2010, and this movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio, and the special effects in this are mind-blowing. Groundbreaking special effects in this movie. And the action is just so spectacular. It's wide, clear, beautiful angles. Everything about this movie is just, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of cinema. It is definitely one of the best movies ever made. And this is by far one of the biggest landmarks in action movie history. Okay, two more. Number 12 is Mad Max Fury Road, released in 2015. This movie showed Hollywood what we want in an action movie. And at a time, see, once Hollywood got over the post-Matrix era, like I said, we moved into the shaky cam era, and then we moved into the era where everything was CGI. Okay, this movie has practical effects, beautiful, real stunts. The things in this movie are real. Everything's real. I mean, there's a little bit of CGI to help like enhance some things, and I think there was like one or two stunts in it that was just a little bit too dangerous for the actors to actually be there. Like there was one part in the movie where like a truck goes over a couple of the actors, but they're like inside the wheels so they don't get hit. That was fake because they're not going to run a moving truck over the actors. But I've heard that like over 80% of the things in this movie was 100% real. This movie showed Hollywood, this is what we want. We don't want your CGI bullcrap. We want this. Give us more of this. This is one of the greatest action movies of all time because this showed Hollywood what we want. This movie was a big middle finger to the CGI-loving directors out there in Hollywood. This is how you direct action, and it's a fantastic movie. And it's also the only Mad Max movie I really like. Even though everybody likes The Road Warrior. I thought it was Anyways, that's not the point. And last but certainly not least, and this one honestly might surprise you, but it's Mission Impossible Fallout. Released in 2018. Mission Impossible Fallout is the best Mission Impossible movie in the series. Now, one of the great these about Mission Impossible is that it also, like Mad Max Fury Road, it utilizes practical effects. The things that Tom Cruise does in these movies, you may find insane, but they're real. At the end of this movie, there's a helicopter chase sequence, and it's all real. Tom Cruise learned how to fly a helicopter just for this movie. Remember the skydiving scene? Real. They were skydiving. It's all real, and it's amazing for it. Even in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, when Tom Cruise is underwater holding his breath, he was actually underwater holding his breath, being spun around in circles. I'm telling you, the things in the Mission Impossible movies are real, and it's one of the greatest action movie series of all time because of it. And this is the best one in the series. This is a masterpiece. I absolutely love this movie. I can't get enough of it. It's one of the few movies I've gone to see in theaters more than once. That's how good this movie is. Tom Cruise is one of the greatest action movie heroes of all time, and it's because the things in his movies are real. And I'm so grateful for that. If I ever met him, I would just want to shake his hand and tell him thank you. Thank you for being an artist. Thank you for caring about filmmaking. Hollywood needs more people like Tom Cruise because this is how you make action. Okay. So those are the movies that are landmarks in action movie history. These are in my opinion, the 13 most important action movies of all time. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Pod Planet Entertainment for more and hit the like button. Leave movie review suggestions down in the comments down below. Follow me on Instagram at Pod Planet Entertainment for channel updates, and much love.